Så, välkomna allihopa. Idag kommer vi köra både lite svenska och engelska. Today we're going to talk a little bit Swedish and a little bit English. Derek is the English one and I'm the Swedish one. So, welcome everyone. Välkomna. I'm going to say something if someone is totally new here in the Swedish community. And that is in Swedish. För er som är helt nya här idag så är 3PS en förening. Vi har möten varje söndag och varje måndag via Zoom. En söndag i månaden, ibland även en måndag, så har vi bjudit in talare som idag. Idag har vi fantastiska Derrick med oss som vi också snart ska presentera lite närmare. Vi pratar på de här mötena om något som benämns som de 3 principerna. Vilket för att beskriva det lite enkelt kan man säga är en förståelse av hur det psykologiska systemet fungerar. Och kanske det viktigaste, att vi lever inifrån och ut, inte tvärtom. Vi nämner också ibland en man vid namn Sydney Banks, som var den man som hade en lightning-upplevelse. Utifrån det han insåg då började han berätta om det sen efteråt utifrån dessa 3 principer. Nu har ni i alla fall lite bakgrund och sen är det bara att hänga med och sen kan man ställa massor med frågor om man vill. Men det viktigaste är att se om vi alla bara kan landa här och nu ikväll och lyssna efter en känsla. Det vill säga inte så mycket tänkande utan bara se om du kan vara här och nu. Det var en liten presentation. Men nu, I have the honor to present Derrick today to everyone here, and I'm really honored that you're here, and I know many people are. I've listened to you many times, Derrick, and I'm not going to say so much before maybe to set some pressure, but it has been so lovely to listen to you, and it's pure wisdom coming through. So I'm really happy to have you here. I'm just going to tell a little bit from your bio, Derrick, and you can correct me if I say something wrong afterwards. So this is Derrick Mason. He came across the 3 principles in 2017 during his time in HMP Onley, and that's a prison, right, Derrick? Yeah, where he had an insight around the innate source of his well-being. Getting a glimpse of a feeling pointing to the infinite nature of his own potential. He saw it had only ever been his thinking in the moment, separating him from the feeling. After being released in August 2018, armed only with the feeling that he didn't have to be who he always thought he had to be, Derrick has continued to look deeper into who he thinks he is by being in the feeling, and has a beautiful way of sharing from that space. He now works alongside several organizations delivering workshops on the power of the feeling. Derrick is also on the board of directors of the 3PGC. So warmly welcome, Derrick. And I leave the word to you now.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Hannah, and thank you for inviting me. It's always an honor to get invited anywhere just to share, like I said before, what little I know or little I've seen, and just helps me drop into that space. And even when you was reading that, the bio and the intro, it just brought me back to where it not even all started, but when I first had this insight and then the feeling just came over me, and how that bio just puts it succinctly or shortens it in just having that belief or knowing that I don't have to buy into who I always thought I was. And it sounds something so simple, but when I saw it on a level that I saw it on, it was for me, it was just so profound. And to even go into the story of how I came into contact with this understanding and who I thought I was before that. I was 17 when I first got arrested and sent to prison in, I'm going to give away my age now, 1988. In 1988, I first got arrested and went to prison. I was 17, and it was like the worst experience of my life. The most horrific, worst thing I could ever go through. But yet somehow I still came out and was of the thinking that I had to do what I had to do with that as a consequence. And like I said, that was 30 years ago. That was 1988. And I had basically 30 years of living a life of crime, in and out of prison, thinking that that was my only reality. That was what I had to do because of my upbringing, because of my circumstances. I was raised by a single parent mum who struggled, and I didn't really feel no love from her growing up. I initially thought I was broken. I was always acting from a broken space. So the options that were open to me were limited. And it just showed up for me that this is what I had to do. And there was no other option, nothing else. Obviously I can go and get a job, but that wouldn't give me the life that I wanted, or I'll be struggling even harder. That just seemed like that was my life through the choices I made. And that was it. So, like I said, after going to prison numerous times, and every time I'd been to prison sort of slows your mind down, slows your thinking down. I used to go on courses. I had this mentality that when I go to prison, I wouldn't work for the prison system. I'd always go on courses and get certificates for myself. So when I come out, I've done bricklaying courses. So when I'm in there, I say, right, when I come out, I'm going to be a bricklayer, and I'll build up this fantasy in my head of how I'm going to be a bricklayer when I get out. I would come out, produce my bricklaying certificate. They'll tell me, no, I need more. I need this. I need to study for another 12 months. And I'd always end up doing what I used to do. So all the times I'd ever attempted to try and stop, I'd always convince myself that it wasn't worth it. So basically, after 30 years of living that sort of life and going to prison in 2017, and when I went to prison in 2017, my son was 3 months old. And even if I give you a bit of context on how I'm thinking or how life's so funny, when my first daughter was born, I was in prison. And I came out when she was about 3 months old. My second daughter was about 4 months old, and I went to prison. So when my partner told me that she was pregnant with our son, I thought just come to me and said, oh my God, I'm going to prison. Because I was in prison for the other two, and it's like, but that still didn't stop me from doing whatever it was doing. And lo and behold, my son was about 5, 6 months old. I got arrested and went to prison. And even that, I didn't go to prison with the mentality of, right, this is it. This is it. I've got to stop now. I have to find something to make. No, it was just every time I've been caught, there's a reason why. So I just have to divert. I cut that person out or not take the left anymore. And that was always the mentality. So even to say when I went to prison and I got this understanding, I wasn't looking for anything to change my life. I wasn't looking to, no, I wasn't looking for any of this, what I've bumped into. And if I tell you the story of how I bumped into it, they moved me to Onley, where Beyond Recovery was running groups with this understanding of 3 principles. And one person had been impacted by it. And he saw me, and this guy called Dave, he's about 6'8". And he came up to me and he said, yeah, started talking about the group, saying it'd be good for me. And I just agreed with him just because I wanted to stop. I didn't want to talk to him. So I just said, yeah, I'll come on the course. So anyway, he see me again and he said, right, I'm taking your name and number, you're going on the course. So I went on the course just to try and get to a better prison, tried to get to a DCAT prison, which is I get out at the weekends and you're not in a cell. So I went on the course to try and tick a box to make it look like I'm trying to progress myself. But when I went on the course, it's like I found something much more beautiful than that. I actually found myself. I found all the narratives that I told myself all those years. I got a glimpse of one small thing, what sort of shattered all of that, or called it into question. And it was, and all I saw was a little crack. I got a glimpse in the crack of the reality I created, and saw that it was me that created it. And that one insight that I had has just totally shifted me and changed my life to something unrecognizable. To even say the time of my arrest, you say, I'm going to be here talking to this community in 5, 6 years' time. I'll laugh. I'll tell you you're crazy. I'll say that's not me. That's somebody. This is not a part of my reality. And if I can never bring it into context, like I said, 30 years of committing crime and seeing it as I'd always been resilient and I'm always fighting the system and I'm just doing what I can and I'm strong because I'm. And it took one insight around the relationship with my mum for everything to change. And so basically, I went on this group Beyond Recovery, and it was a 10-week program, 1 day a week for 10 weeks. So I was on this group and they started to talk about our thinking. And even that's different because in prison, it's either it's a yes or no box. So is it good to commit crime? Yes or no? Let me think about that one. No. And it's a lot of that. But this group is about your thinking, and that was a bit different. So that got me curious. Then after 3 weeks, somebody that was on the group with me that was moved from another prison to Onley with, he came into the group and he said, oh my God, this group has changed my life. It's amazing. I've thrown away my porn. I've thrown away my drugs. I've thrown away my tobacco. I've thrown away everything. Oh my God, this thing is amazing. So I said to him, okay, I was in last week's group. Tell me what you saw, word for word. Because I want to then scream, it's amazing, it's changed my life. And I go on, tell me. And there was a mentor in the group who had seen something, because this was our first group, but he had been on previous groups and he had seen something. And he said to me, I can see that you kind of intellectualize things. He said, life doesn't work like that. I said, yes, it does. If you see something, you tell me, I see it as well. Happy Larry. He said, no, it don't work like that. He said, what you have to do, I can see you try to intellectualize things. And I went, huh? And I went, yeah, that's right. Because if you say something, I have to know what that means right now. I can't move on until I know what that means. And he said, no, it doesn't work like that. He said, he heard something for himself. You have to hear something for yourself. I said, that makes no sense to me. Still, that made no sense to me. What are you talking about? And then he explained his story. When he explained his story, if it wasn't for his story, I wouldn't have given him any credibility. But he said, 2 years ago, his daughter was killed in a road traffic accident. And it broke him to bits where he went off the rails, started to smoke drugs, to drink. He had this crazy idea that if he got himself arrested, he would go to prison, he'll be able to find the guy that killed his daughter, and then he could kill him. Simple. A simple plan. So he done that, got himself arrested, ended up in prison, realized England's a big place with a lot of prisons, and it's impossible for him to actually go to the same prison where this man was. So he's sitting there in a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. He decided to something drew him to a Beyond Recovery group. And the time I met him, he said he had so much love for the man who killed his daughter now. He could talk from that space of hate and pain what he used to have, but he said, right now, I feel compassion for that man. I only dread to think what he's thinking at night time, having to go sleep, knowing that he killed a little girl. And he had so much compassion for him that I said, whoa, I'm listening to you. What do you say I got to do? And he said, just don't intellectualize anything. Just let the words just wash over you. And I was like, what do you mean just wash over you? He goes, don't let the words mean anything. And I was like, I'll try. So then we sat in the group, we had the group. And I remember distinctly somebody saying something and my intellect just going to go all over it and define it and say what it means. And I think I was going to rubbish it. My intellect was just going to rubbish it. But I just said, no, slow down. He said, leave it open. Don't put no meaning on it. So I just left it. Didn't mean anything to me in the group. Left it. Went back to my cell. Was sitting in my bed. And I was lying in my bed watching some show on BBC One. And somebody said something. And it sort of put a different perspective on the word what was said earlier. And I don't know what perspective it put on it, but it made me sit up and say, it's not my mum's fault. And I had to look around and say, who said that? Like, where did that come from? What do you mean it's not my mum's fault? What are you talking about? And I went, oh my God, it's not my mum's fault. And I just had this realization that everything that had basically gone wrong in my life, I had sort of been running this background narrative. It was my mum's fault. And it sort of okayed it, or it sort of made it, yeah, don't worry, you're broken because your mum broke you. So that's okay. That you can do whatever you want to do. But I didn't even know I was running that narrative. But when when the question was asked, like, it's not your mum's fault, I realized, oh yeah, and it came with a feeling that it's only me and my mum left in the room. So if my mum's out of the equation, whose fault is it? And all the arrows went to everybody else, but then they all just came back and just pointed at me like a cartoon. When you point the arrows out, they all just come back and point at you. And it's like, oh, so it's me. And according to my intellect, I'm in that moment, I'm meant to feel low, insecure, because everything that's gone wrong in my life has been, for some reason, I felt just a feeling of freedom. Like, wow. So if it's my fault, then moving forward, I'm in control. I can do what I want to. And I had this feeling, and it showed up as I could be anything I want to be. And the feeling that just came over every bit of my body with just that, and I didn't have a blueprint, and I'm somebody, you sell me something and I start to stack on it and I build up the image in my head and I get that feeling of, yeah, this is what we're going to do. There was none of that involved. I just knew I could be anybody I wanted to be, and it didn't look like anything. It just meant I have got full potential. And if I tell you the truth right now, in that moment, that full potential meant I didn't have to sell drugs. And that to me was, what? I don't have to sell drugs. Wow. I don't know how that narrative had embedded itself so deeply into me that that was my absolute only option. But when I saw my potential meant I didn't have to do that, that's what filled me with that feeling of just freedom and liberation, and seeing that nothing had changed. I was still in a prison cell, but I just felt I was now in control of my narrative. And the thinking that had held me back about who I was in the past was the one holding on to that. And even to give you a bit more context, Christmas 2015, my mum passed away of cancer. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer in October. A couple of years earlier, she had breast cancer. She had the operation. She was given the all clear, and it came back a couple of years later aggressively, spread to her brain. So in October, just realized October the 24th, they told us she had 2 months to live. So I was taking care of my mum, doing all of that. She passed on Christmas Day. I buried her in February, and then I got arrested like 2 weeks later, and then went to prison, beyond recovery. All of that happened. So when I had that insight, it was all based on feeling. It was nothing I could really talk to my mum and say, Mum, this and that. Do you know, it was. But I said, where else is that going on in my life? Where all the arrows definitely point to somebody else, but not me. And I was in about 18 years, 17 years into a relationship with the mother of my children. And that had been an up and down fractious relationship. And that definitely was all her fault. No, 100%. What, this three principles thing don't work over there. 100% that was her fault. But the way I felt, I said, let me investigate it. Let me apply what I just applied to my mum. Let me apply it over there. And I had about 100 arrows all pointing at her. And as soon as I saw what was going on, how I had made it all up again, all of those arrows just turned and pointed at me again. And I was like, what, with everything? It's not just with my mum, not just with the partner of my partner, how I show up in the world, everything is all down to me. And I'm in control of that. And it just, like I said, it just liberated me so much that I'd always been of this thinking that I'll have these great ideas of what to do and how I'm going to show up. Yeah, but not now, because now it's a shit time because I'm in prison. So yeah, I'll do that. As soon as I get out, yeah, this is the plan for when I get out. And I would always do that. But this understanding taught me it's about in the moment. If I look at how I am in the moment, then what I plan for when I get out will take care of itself, because that moment I should be in a moment in as well. And it's so like I used to work, and my objective when I was in prison was to just go through as nondescript and as quietly as possible, because I didn't have a story. Nobody wanted to listen to me. In prison, you have to wear a mask and act like you're tough and be tough. And that wasn't my turnout, but I sort of learned that that's how you had to survive. When I started these groups about things like love and connection, where our happiness comes from, and I thought people would want to attack us, or people would bully us, or people were all interested. All of them were interested. And you see how we all wear this mask, no matter where we are. I don't just put on a mask to go to prison. I was wearing a mask since I was in school. That's what caused me most of my problems, wearing that mask. One of the things when I was in school, I would always have the teacher would ask a hard question or a semi-hard question. I know the answer, but I'd always tell myself, don't put your hand up, you're stupid. If you put your hand up, the teacher's going to say no, everyone's going to laugh at you. Most times I remember the teacher saying the answer is what I was thinking. But that still didn't fuel me to say, do you know what? Let me just go with that feeling that I've got that I'm right. I'd always mask it up and buy into the broken mentality or the broken thinking. And when I saw that after, I was 40 something when I got this understanding. And the way I showed up at work, I got promoted for work. And I thought, what, me? He said, yeah, Derrick, you speak well with everybody and you get on. I was like, me? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And up until this day, I'm still waiting for them to kick off this door and say, yep, fraud, Derrick, we found you out. It's not really you. And I'm waiting for you to say, oh, Derrick, sorry, wrong person. We was meant to call the other wise guy. But apparently when I get into this space, who knew? And I know that I am nothing special. I'm just somebody just looked into the nature of my thinking and where my experience comes from. And I tell the truth, when I first got the understanding and I looked into myself, I got frightened, because I thought it can't be as simple as that. I can't have love inside me like that. And then I slowly realized I am love. And that broken narrative that I've been selling myself was just something that I sold myself as a protection mechanism when I was small, through my insecurities. But things that I noticed we don't do in life, we don't run an inventory on our feelings. Like, why am I still using this feeling that I was using when I was 7 to navigate myself through the world? And I've got this story where I used to be a sulker. I'm still a bit of a sulker. So when I was 7 and I didn't get my way, I would sulk and my friends would go off and play and I want to play with them, but I'm sulking, so I won't play with them. That could happen when we're going out clubbing and my friend would annoy me and he say, yeah, you're coming out. I'll be like, no, not going anywhere. And then I'll be like, oh, I should have went, I wanted to go. But then I've never really checked, when did that serve me well? When I was 7, maybe, but not now. And there's so many little things how I show up. Well, I just dragged on, and in the moment, I have to check, what does that mean for me? How am I showing up? And I just have the ability now to just show up from spaces and be in an argument and see what's really fueling that argument and be able to just drop out of it in a moment. Just be 100% in the moment. And even if, like I said, when I got this understanding, unlimited potential to me looked like just not doing any crime, just being able to survive without committing any form of crime in the world. That was unlimited potential. I've since learned unlimited potential is not a thing that you can quantify like that. It's something that I can actually literally do anything I want to do or be anything I want to be. Since coming out, I didn't plan to be a director of Beyond Recovery, the actual organization that came into prison and was facilitating. I've since been back into prison and facilitated and seen people's eyes light up when they actually see the nature of their own thinking. And we send packs into prisons and where we ask questions, simple questions, and we get people laying out their heart on the line and just seeing. I didn't plan to become a director of the Free PGC. I didn't plan to run workshops with all different organizations. I didn't plan any of that. And I'll tell you the truth, this is something that people laugh at. Just before I was looking to be on recovery, if you would have said, Derrick, stop. All right, in 5 years' time, you're going to be doing A, B, C, D, and you won't have any problems with this. I'll be like, you serious? I'll probably run away. I'll turn around and run away. I'll say, no, that sounds like too much hard work. But I wouldn't have understood that it takes no work. It takes no work. Because if I didn't plan to become a director of the Free PGC, when I got offered it, there's nothing I have to do other than carry on being myself. And it showed up for me as an example where when I was in prison, I got a red band, which means you get a little red band that you put around your arm and you're allowed to walk around the prison unassisted without any officers. They just open the gate for you from point A and you make your way to point B and another officer opens the gate for you. So I actually had one of them and I was like, how the hell did I get one of these? But I was in there and then I got offered another job, and the night before I had the interview for it, Jacqueline, who sorted the job out for me, she said, yeah, you got your interview tomorrow. Good luck. And then she left me in my cell and I got into my intellect and I was like, all right, what do I have to do tomorrow? Right, tell them you do this, tell them you do that, right, tell them. And I started doing all this little white lies and bending of the truth. And I thought, well, hold on, why am I doing it? And I felt nervous when I was doing it. I thought, why am I doing that? I came onto their radar just by being myself. So why am I going to try to produce this other person to try to show up tomorrow? No, just be. And that just settled me to have faith in being in the moment, going into that, not knowing what I'm going to say, and just speak what comes from the heart. And that has served me so well. From that time up until right here now, speaking with you guys, I haven't planned what I was going to say. I didn't know what I was going to say. I just worked with the feeling. And it started when you started reading that bio, Hannah. That is when it just came over me. And then it's like those feelings I held in trust, because it's the exact same feeling that I'm feeling right now that I felt when I realized it wasn't my mum's fault. It's never been my mum's fault. It's always been me, and I've always been whole and complete. And that's the thing. This feeling didn't come with a feeling of, okay, that was then, we're going to excuse that, but now you're okay. No, I've always been okay. I've always been. My actions don't denote whether I'm okay or not. Deep down, I know that I'm okay. And seeing that in myself, from coming from somebody that thought they were 100% broken, and all my life I've been plastering over the cracks so that people couldn't see where I was broken and how much I was broken. And now I can truly see that how much everyone around me acts from that space. And when they act from that space of hurt and pain, it's just an innocence in how their understanding of where their feelings come from and how they can be in the moment. And anytime I get lost, this is something I can't believe, and I can't even explain it in a way. Anytime I get lost, I just know listen to a little bit of Sid Banks or read some Sid Banks, and somehow he speaks to me in the moment for what I need to hear for this moment. And I can share and I can talk, and people are like, well, and I haven't got no kind of education, I have no kind of knowledge, I haven't been on 100 training courses and read 1,000 books. Even I've got a funny story about the books. The person who got me introduced to this understanding, who collared me in a shower one day and said, yeah, you need to get on this course. So I went on the program in prison. Before I started the program, he gave me the book, The Enlightened Gardener, one of Sid Banks' books. So I was reading it. At the beginning, it says, yeah, it's all you're thinking. And I thought, all right. And I carried on reading, waiting for the punchline. I thought, all right, it's all you're thinking, but what else? And I read the whole book and I thought, that book's rubbish, man. What do you mean? And I just didn't get it. But then as soon as I realized that there is no punchline, it is as simple as that. It is as simple as that. It's all our thinking. And the thing I've been on since I had this understanding, like I said, has totally changed my life and how I see things and where I can be and what I can achieve. I've been for interviews. I've been for interviews with Ministry of Justice. working with organizations like that, and just seeing that things like that were never on my plate, were never on my table, and getting a true understanding of the meaning of unlimited potential for absolutely everybody, and knowing that my past doesn't no way have to determine who I am or how I show up in the future or in the moment. And when I see that, I truly know I can take care of myself in this moment. Is there any other question you wanted to ask, Anna, or anything else we wanted to touch on? Or?
Thank you, Derrick. I'm just touched here, so I don't have any words right now. But if you want to hear if anyone else have a question or anything, then is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So if anyone have any question, and just raise your hand, or I think you can unmute, or Kenny will help you. Or if you want to write something in the chat, or however you want to, or just maybe share something that struck them when you were talking, right, Derrick?
Always in the moment, when in that feeling. But, you know, if no one's like, I could share a little bit more.
Yes, please.
So when I was in prison, and I had this understanding, I basically thought I cracked life. I basically thought, yeah, I've got it licked now, and it's always about being happy. It's always about having this understanding and being happy, and just not letting those sad thoughts, putting them back up in the river, as we say. And the technique that I had every morning, to wake up, and you'd hear the keys. You'd hear officers walk onto the wing, so you hear the keys that will wake me up. That just give me a sly reminder in prison. I wake up, look at the door, turn around, look at the window, and automatically I'll download that I'm in prison, and that feeling would just come over me. Oh, it's a rubbish day. I'll feel depressed. I feel like I don't want to get out of my bed, and that was basically my day every day. But when I had this understanding, they said, "Oh, that's your thinking that's doing that. Do you know that?" And I was like, "Oh, is it?" They said, "Oh, okay, then let me see." So keys went off, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in prison." And I remember I had these pictures on my picture board of when I was away. My daughter and the mother of my children, they went to Grenada and they went scuba diving. So they took some pictures underwater, and I had them on my wall. So I said, "If it's all you're thinking," I just looked at the pictures and I'd be like, "Oh, you know what? One day I'm going to be there scuba diving with them, you know. Yeah, I'll be on the beach reading my book. They'll be scuba diving." And all of a sudden, these good feelings start to come over me. And I was like, before I know, I'm pulling the covers off. I'm jumping up out of the bed and I'm like, yeah, ready for the day. And I was like, what? It works. Yes. I've got life cracked now. Anytime these thoughts come, I just start thinking about the good thinking, and that's it. And then I was like, I sort of done that. And I realized it didn't work all the time, but it helped me most of the time. So I thought, this is it. It's only when I came out from prison that the real mud started to hit the fan. And you start to go through certain things, what you start to say, oh no, this is going to take more than just thinking about a scuba diving holiday. this stuff is real. This ain't like, but then when you sort of see the true nature of how everything is, and that's what made me reach out to Beyond Recovery in the first place, because I was in the prison Onley where Beyond Recovery was facilitating, and then I got my move to this DCAT prison, like the open prison. So I moved there, and there weren't nobody there that was doing Beyond Recovery groups, and nobody knew anything about the three principles there. So I was in this prison, like left to my own devices. And I very quickly went off the rails, and just at the very basic, I used this understanding to know when I would think about the day would getting out, I'll get nervous and I'll think, oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I really going to commit crime again? Because remember, many times I had this thinking that I weren't going to commit crime and I could do it, and I'd always failed. So I had these little nerves about, oh my God, am I really going to be able to do it? Well, I'm going to have to get a job. I'm going to have to do that. Oh my God. And the nerves would overcome me. And I said, no, if this understanding has taught me anything, it's taught me to be in the moment. And that day when I'm released will take care of itself. And I'll be like, ah, yeah. And that's how I was using the three principles at the very bare minimum. So when I came out, like I said, all right, surrender to being in the moment. Don't stress out about not getting a job. The serendipitous way, or the way I got my job when I first come out of prison, a painting and decorating job. I went to probation. My regular probation officer wasn't there, so I had to see a standing probation officer. And she was asking me, what am I doing for work? And I said, I'm looking for work. She said, what kind of work? I said, painting and decorating work. She said, oh, I got a thing on my desk for a leaflet that I just saw this morning about a painting and decorating. Give me 1 minute. She went upstairs, got the leaflet, gave it to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to try it. And that is how I got my job, painting and decorating, what sort of kept me on the straight and narrow. But if my regular solicitor, if my regular probation officer had been there, that opportunity probably wouldn't have presented itself. And things like that just make me keep thinking, wow, do you know what? Yeah, the universe is kind of working with you, you know? But me and the mother of my children were going through a stressful time. We started arguing again like before when I went, and I thought, like I said, I thought, yes, I cracked life and all of them feelings are gone. But when we got into it, all of those feelings came back. I thought I was like, way back, like everything was the same. So that's when I said, no, imagine that, like, this is another shock into my system of how I thought. Every time I've been to prison, the clothes that I wear, the people I meet, I never wear those clothes again. I just throw them away. The people I meet, I never contact them. That is just a time to be forgotten about, and yeah, just brushed it under the carpet. And the least I can remember about that time in my life, the better, because nothing positive ever comes from that place. So just cut off all ties to it. So when I got into it with the mother of my children, I was feeling so low. The thing that struck me was the feeling I had from the groups in prison. And I said, wow, I need that in my life. And I went on Facebook, I found Jacqueline Hollows, I found Dave Saunders, the guy who got me into, who introduced me to it. I found a few facilitators who were facilitating. I messaged all of them. I just said, hi, it's Derrick, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And Jacqueline got back to me and said, yeah, brilliant, blah, blah. And imagine if I give you another little story on how the universe shows up. So I've messaged her. I said, yeah. She said, oh, brilliant. Me and somebody were talking about it yesterday. Have you got a number? So I messaged her my number, and she said, all right, I'll call you. I'll call you soon. Me and the mother of my children were in the kitchen, going at it, hammer and tongs. Ring, 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 ring. Unknown number, or a number that I don't recognize. Answer, it's Jacqueline. Oh, hi, Derrick. Something happened to me. Like my whole demeanor must have just changed according to her, the mother of my children. But I just went, oh, hi. And it just so happens that the conference, the 3P UK conference, we're talking on Thursday, the 3P UK conference is that weekend. So she said, oh, the 3P UK conference this weekend. Do you want to come to it? I was like, what? Yes, of course I want to come. Of course I want to come. She's like, all right, then I'll sort out your tickets and everything. This is where it is. And it was a live one. That was 2019. I goes, yeah, yeah. I hung up the phone. When I hung up the phone, remember, I've just stepped out of this and all. When I hung up the phone, I must have just been filled with so much love. I just looked at her and I just said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore, you know. You know what response I got? Who was that you were just talking to? He was like, no, that person you were just talking to just done something to you. Your whole physiology just changed as soon as who was that person? Who's controlling you like that? Who is, and this is what I said to her, so profound. I said, you know what? That person didn't do a thing to me. That person just opened up something that was in me already. And like I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And she was like, what, like, and I just saw it then that like 2 minutes ago, I was in this angry mode of like, one phone call and everything. And I thought, wow, again, look how, and the argument we was having before, when I look at it, all I can see is pure love. All I can see is her side of the story. All I can see is where I was being a bit obnoxious. All I can see is where I could have shut my mouth. All I can see is where I could have done that. And it hit me, and it was like with no feeling of, wow, regret, or, oh my God, I wasn't, none of that. Again, it came with liberation, freedom, where I can say, I'm sorry, do you know what? I was wrong, you know. And even you might have been wrong and you're not prepared to see that now. I understand that. That's more than okay. What do you mean? No, 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 no. It's coming from a genuine place. I just don't want to, but to see it and to understand it and then feel it. Like I said, 2 minutes earlier, that would have been unacceptable. But just to know something like that can just happen. And then even that, to carry on from that weekend, I said to her, you know, I want to bring you to this conference. They've invited me, I want to bring you. So we went to the conference, and just being in that feeling just reminded me of like, wow, this is, yeah. I'd only ever felt that fully when I was in prison. So to be outside now and in an environment with so many like-minded people who weren't looking at me as like, because initially I thought this was an understanding what was for prisoners. And yeah, this is something that you help these poor, deprived, lowly, broken people. Yeah, just pat them with a bit of this and yeah, send them. So when I've come out and I've seen this whole community, like, whoa, like what the, like, yeah, it changed my life. I was a businessman and I done like, whoa. Like, yeah, I was a dick, like, whoa. Okay, it's a human thing. Okay, I can dig that because I'm a human. I'm a human. I can dig that. And it made me just feel like, wow, this ain't just like a little poor me thing. This is yeah. And I sort of knew that, but it just confirmed it to me. And Jacqueline again with skullduggery and trickery. She said, oh, Derrick, somebody was meant to talk for our Beyond Recovery. They have not showed up. Can you talk? I've gone like, what? No, I ain't got nothing to say. She's gone, yeah, Derrick, you'll be all right, man. You'll be all right. Nobody ever thinks they're ready, but we're always ready. And I was like, didn't make sense, but I sort of understand what you're saying. And then she said, don't worry, Derrick, I'll sit up on the stage with you. I said, you sure? She said, yeah. Okay. So we've gone there now, gone to this little with about 4 people in there, including ourselves. And I thought, oh, is this it? Oh, I can do that. I sat down. She didn't sit on the stage with me. She sat at the front and she goes, yeah, this is what I meant. And I was like, all right. But I spoke to about 3 people, just sharing my story. And it just made me feel so alive. It made me feel so relevant. It made me feel like, what, like stories that I share about vulnerabilities that I try to package and hide and stow away. I was sharing people that weren't criminals or people that didn't look like me were saying, that impacted me. I was crying when I was like, what? Like, yeah, like, okay, again, that connection of we're all human, no matter where we come from, no matter what our backgrounds are, our upbringing, the operating system, what runs behind all of that is exactly the same. Which is why I've got a colleague of mine, she's like talking about relationship issues. And when she talks about her relationship, she's come from a totally different background from me. But I can so and connect and thinking in other ways. It's manifested itself in other ways. But just to know behind all of that is all exactly the same. And that's why this thing's so beautiful. Because when I first got this understanding, like I said, okay, I was in prison, I was feeling low. Yeah, what do I need to get out? Yeah, I got this 3 principles thing. Brilliant. I've even seen something around my mum. Brilliant. I've even seen something around the mother of my children. Brilliant. I've even seen something around the nature of human beings. Brilliant. I've even seen something around the nature of how we act. It's just endlessly given. Endlessly given. Things what I think are separate or go outside of this. Nothing's outside of it. Nothing. And it's just a learning thing. To speak at that conference in front of a room of about 4 people and just feel so amazing and take me out of my comfort zone. But then I'm so comfortable there. Again, shattered something. That what is really my comfort zone? Is that thing that I've made up and said, right, this is where I think I would feel comfortable. I would only feel comfortable sitting around a campfire with a hood on, a big jacket, like that. I would never feel comfortable running a 5-mile run. Never. I do, and I have done, and it felt amazing. But who knew that? Who knew that sharing things that you thought were your vulnerabilities or things that you thought were your weakness and being able to see through them, and maybe not even to be able to see through them fully, but somebody else looks at them and says, that's a strength. That's a strength. What you just shared is a strength. It's like, wow, from me, from something I thought was a weakness. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. And I don't even need to know. My ego would probably need to know, yeah, who was impacted? Oh, it didn't help you. Yeah, all right, yeah, good. Pat you on the back, yeah. But I don't need to know that. The space I'm talking from is, that's what helps. That's this place in the universe. And I done a group once. I was doing a group with an organization I work with in America. And I was talking, I was sharing, and something just showed up for me. Share that bit about your mum. I just shared something about my mum. And as I was sharing it, everybody, it was an online event. Everyone was looking a bit like blank. And I just thought, oh my God, I never should have shared that. No, it doesn't fit. Oh my God, you idiot. And then we finished the call and it was over. And I was like, oh, do you know you shouldn't have shared that part there? It was a good call, but that part there, you shouldn't have shared it, man. I know. All right, next time, don't share that part there because that's the bit that you messed up there. And I had a little feeling that I messed up. And then about a week later, I was doing some one-to-ones with people from the organization as well. About a week later, I'm doing a one-to-one with somebody and she just started crying. She said, when you shared that bit about your mum, that opened me up because I just recently lost my mum to a gang violent thing and went in and said, but when you shared what you shared, it resonated with me so much that it opened and it just freed me of the thinking that I had. And it just hit me like a hammer. Bang! How dare I have that intellectual thinking that I know why I'm saying what I'm saying, or I can control what went good or what went bad. And like I said, something just made me say that. But she needed to hear that in that moment. And she was impacted by it in that moment. So I don't need to know why I say what I say, or if I shouldn't have said. I don't know what's going. And I fully trust that. I fully trust that. Because the time I could have spent beating myself up, saying I shouldn't have said something, and I've already said it. I can't take it back. It's already gone. It's out there doing whatever it's doing. The trust from that space. I've not tried to get him done or what. And I think there's so many examples of where that's shown up for me, where I have to constantly push them boundaries or push them barriers to see that the most of them are all being made up by me. All being made up by me. And even that, what I'm saying about the conference, that was in 2019. And I can't believe it's been 5 years since then. And my life has changed, seeing so much deeper. Sometimes even just by listening to Sid or just being in a quiet moment. You know, being invited to speak at places like this, I still have to check myself and say, wow. All other events, wow. All of that. And this is what I said, like the feeling that I had when I first got this understanding, it's sort of like the same feeling I've been following. It's that same feeling I've been following. And it hasn't let me down. And to say it hasn't let me down, don't say it hasn't let me down. Like I'm not rolling in money, I'm not living the greatest life now, but it hasn't let me down in moving in the wrong direction and taking me from where I need to be in the moment. Because as I've realized with this understanding, we can't cherry pick what's good and bad, and what's the life I lived before has enabled me to be here to share from this space. And certain times I get in a pickle today, and I just know this is furnishing me for something maybe in a future moment. And I don't need to know what or why. If I truly know that I am where I am, and I am where I'm meant to be, then that just helps me move forward again without trying to get into the quicksand and struggling to get out of it. Because as we know, in the quicksand, the more you struggle, the more you end up in it. It's more of an acceptance. No matter where I am, can't break me. As I said before, I am love. And sometimes that misguided version shows up in different ways, but it's at the heart of everything. Kenny, is that you, Kenny?
Yes, I just love to listen to your story and everything, and it's so profound and so hopeful also that change is so possible. And when I was listening to you, I actually got this picture in my head. I wrote a blog post several years ago, and it's about when you're caught up in your own negative thinking about yourself due to how you're brought up and your behavior and everything, and then that is reinforced by people around you. It's like you're trapped in a prison, and it's really hard to get out of it if you don't meet another person that really can see you. And I was thinking what Sydney Banks said about love and understanding. So I mean, that's the main ingredients in some way. I mean, if you really can see through behavior and past and everything and just see the person, that is the key in some way, as I can see. That wakes you up, and so, or at least helps. That's the picture I got in my head when I heard about you now. And I also believe that it's really hard to believe it when you're in that situation. So if anyone comes to you and say, well, it's just your thinking or whatever, it's no way. I mean, it is in the feeling. And when you get in touch in the feeling, then it's there for life. That's, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, plenty, Kenny. You know, it's like I got this thing where you say, like, before I had this understanding of what happened to me, you could have lined up every member of 7 billion people on this, 8 billion people on this planet. You could have put them at my front door, and one by one, they all come and tell me I'm not broken, I'm whole, and I'm this, and I'm amazing, and I'm great. As I see the last person, my intellect's gonna kick in. No, they only said that because, and you're not gonna believe a word of it. But when you feel it, you don't need to hear that from anybody else. Anybody else. And exactly what you said, Kenny, I was always looking for that for outside of myself, for that for other people. I used to run my life on opinions of other people. If I was with a group of people and they had a certain thinking of something that wasn't nice or something that was nice, I just bought into it and went along with it. And if I didn't like it and everybody else liked it, I was weird and I was strange. And I had to look into myself and try to be more like that, not knowing that waiting for my happiness to furnish itself from outside of myself is a lost cause. And I know that it's in here already, and learn to look in here for it. And then learn to look in here for the okayness. And it's in here all the judgment comes from. Yeah, ultimately, all the judgment came from outside of me. But most of the judgment is coming from in here. And I project that on people and think that they're judging me the same way I'm judging myself. And then I'm quick to forgive somebody else, but harder to forgive myself for something. And when I see the nature of that, like I'm constantly chasing something that's paradoxically impossible. Because I think when they change, then eventually that's going to bring change for me. No, it's not. It's not. And when,
Always looking at the other part to change first instead of taking the responsibility. Yeah.
and
I remember that too when you talked about when was it your daughter who you were in an argument with? I have a similar story to getting home from work and it looks like shit at home, and and we start in an argument and everything, and then in the middle of the argument I just get a thought, wow, all she wants is to be loved by me, and that instantly just it made the shift directly, and then I'm sorry, I love you, let's talk about it later. And then actually that's many years ago, I mean almost 8 years ago, and since then we never got into those arguments, and since that we none of us, so it's so powerful.
and it can go from one extreme to the other or one end to the other. There's no thinking. That's why when Sid says we're all one thought away, that one thought. And I used to break it down and say, if I've just lost my job, dog just died, this has happened, and that's happened, and that's happened. This is my son to do one silly thing, and that's it. I'm in that space. The one thought has just wiped it all out. I'm back with that clear state of mind, that settled state of mind. From there, I can look back at where I was, and now I can see everything totally different, slightly different, but different nonetheless. And that's the important thing. I didn't think there was any difference there before. And I love what you said as well, when you're looking for outside, not for like validate, or for outside to reaffirm or reassure you of what's going on with you. Like constantly, not knowing that, yeah, I know where I am. I don't need anybody else to validate it for me. The more I trust in myself. And this was something what showed up as in, when we first got this understanding, they said, yeah, your thinking creates your reality. So I was like, thinking creates your reality. He said, yep, your thinking creates your reality. I said, all right. I closed my eyes and I said, I'm on a beach in Maui. I'm on a beach in Maui. I'm on a beach in Maui. Open my eyes, guess what? I wasn't on a beach in Maui. So I said, oh, that's rubbish. Our thinking does not create our reality. That doesn't even make sense. But as I get to go on this journey, I got this story what I can tell where it proper showed up for me. So I was going shopping, not even shopping, I was going to buy some breakfast, some cornflakes, and some cereal and some milk and a few bits from Sainsbury's. So I walked to Sainsbury's. I'm coming back with my Sainsbury's bag with my cornflakes and milk in it, and I see a police van. And as I see the police van at the corner of my eye, I just froze and started walking straight and didn't want to look in that direction, because it's just like, according to me, they're all looking at me and they're thinking, oh, look at him, what's he doing? What's he up to? And something just came over me and said, hold on, I don't even live that life no more. Why do I feel tight and like, I don't want to look into the van? And I realized my thinking, and I just thought, oh yeah. So I looked straight into the van. When I looked in the van, none of them were looking at me. None of them were even paying me any kind of attention. And I thought, oh yeah, that's what that means. You know, when our thinking creates our reality. So when I started to see that I don't see myself as a criminal no more, my reality starts to show up as I'm not, does that make sense? As in, when I started to work and do work things, the reality that started to show up for me was pointing in that direction. And then I said, okay, now this is what my reality is. But I created this reality through my thinking. Doors that I had closed before, like sending emails, because I don't send emails, because that's not something that we do. Now my reality is a life with emails and living in, but it's my thinking that I've opened that door. So I can't close my eyes and say, I'm on a beach in Maui, I'm on a beach in Maui. But I can close my eyes and say, I'm not broken and I'm not a criminal and I can be anything I want to be. And when I open my eyes, that's what confronts me. And that could change every time I close and open my eyes. It's just about knowing how we create our reality, what that really means. And how when I sort of got a better understanding of that, like I said, I can go through rough patches. I can go through little periods, but I can see through it. I can see through it. I know that I'm going to be okay. And follow that wisdom that shows up for me. It shows up in all the most profound places when we don't expect it. And I was just reading something from Sidman. He says, when we're looking for something, we don't really, when we stop looking, we stop seeking, we find exactly what we need. We find everything we need. I've seen so much around giving space for things as well, because I had a job a year and a half ago. I had a job where I was working with homeless people, but it wasn't a 3 principles based organization. And they was in the business of telling people, homeless people, that they were broken and that they needed help and they needed to drag up all of their past. So I was seeing them around the corner and going, you're not broken. Like, what? No, you're not broken, Yeah, because it's just our thinking. And it's just like, and they're like, oh my God, Derrick, you're amazing. I'm like, yeah. But it was their policy just to tell people that as a fact. And I was like, no, it doesn't sit well with me to watch you hurt them and then me have to go and patch it up a little bit. That's too much hard work. But something in me just said, you know what? I can't really do this. I could be doing better at this. No. So I just left. And I didn't have anything planned to say, right, I'm going to do A, X, Y, and Z. Had a few little things penciled in that if I was to tell you about it at the time, you'd be like, Derrick, you're crazy. Don't do that. Just wait for it to become a bit more solid. But I just had a feeling that, I couldn't do it anymore. And I left. And that was the job that was bringing in my main income. And about 2 days later, I'm sitting there scratching my head thinking, oh my God, have I made the right decision there? Oh my God. I think you might have made a wrong decision. I got an email. Oh, hi, Derrick, organization in America. Oh, hi, Derrick. Yeah, you know what we was thinking? We've done a bit of work before together. We was thinking, do you want to do a year and get a year contract? I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, no, okay. About an hour later, I get a WhatsApp message. Oh, Derrick, that thing that we was talking about, are you ready to come on board and we start this contract? And that just showed me, wow, do you see the doubt I had in my head when I said, is this the right decision? It's like I've just been given confirmation, not from the people around me, but from the universe, as to say, do you know what? Yeah, you're on the right track. And all of those things what I've done were 3 principles based. I'm still doing them now. And I've helped to impact so many people. And the thing with the other job, like I said, non-3 principles, it was a bit set regime and set time scales. So if I would have been in that job, I never would have taken them other 2 positions because I wouldn't have been able to work around it. And I would have been of the thinking that this is my mainstay of income. Those things I have to wait or probably do them another time. But I got rid of that job and created a space, I see, for these things to come into my life and for me to be exactly where I need to be. And the work I've done with the homeless charity is amazing work and I help impact quite a few people. But what I learned along that journey has helped me so much with what I do now with some of the organizations that I work with. So there's never any really wasted time. There's never a mistake. A mistake is something what I see as if I'm willing to keep on repeating it, then it's only learning that I'm prepared to, it's only learning that somebody's trying to shut that I'm trying to be pointed towards. Just that when I get a feeling of a rub, I know that it's just pointing me to something that I'm yet to see. And if I can know that and understand that, then there's something that I can see through that, no matter what it is. Because there's no exception to this understanding. No exception to the feelings that we feel. Every single feeling that we feel that leans in the direction of that conversation you was having, Kenny, or the conversation I was having, or the conversation that many of us have, one feeling it takes to clear the decks of that. And for us to look at that, what created that feeling differently. 100%. There's no feeling that escapes that equation. When we get settled and in that space, we can all turn around and say that same word you said, love. I love that. I love you because of that. Oh, you do that silly thing that used to annoy me. Oh, I love the way you do that. And we was even joking in group the way the other day, love, like something that somebody does to annoy me, you can actually find love in that. Like you can actually say, oh, I love the way that you pass wind and the way you just wiggle your nose winkles when you pass wind, or you, I'd be like, oh, but because we can look, oh, there's nothing that passes. There's no exception. When we say things, we don't understand that love conquers all, and all we need is love. There's nothing great, and we are that, all of us. And we have the capacity to find it in any moment and apply it to any situation, any circumstance, anybody, and revel in it. And one of the biggest things I see around this understanding was around the Black Lives Matter issue, when that issue happened, and to see that the person who killed, I remember the guy's name, Floyd, Derrick Chauvin, his name is, because he's the same name as me, but to know that he was working with his own misguided thinking in the moment. And there's no exception to anybody I can't see loving, no matter what their actions are portraying. And to see that as somebody who thought I could never see anything like that. And not say it because I have to say it, but feel it. Because no human being on this planet, there's no exception. There's no exception. And to see and feel that barriers that we create, the divisions that we create, it's all through our thinking. When we go back before that space, before that personal thought, there is no separation, there is no differences. That one operating system that we all operate from, that we all get misguided from. But there's a guidance system back. And the best, most beautiful thing is there's no work to do to get to it or to access it. Like I said before, I used to intellectualize everything. So I suffer from anxiety. I used to suffer from high anxiety. So you put me in a room with more than 2 or 3 people that I don't know, I'm sweating. I think you're talking about me. I'm making coffees. I'm making an excuse to go to the toilet. I'm on my phone. All of this thing just hits me hard. But this thing has shown me that all of that is sort of made up by me. And to know that I can just lean into that. When I say lean into it, just question, is that really what's going on? Is that really my best policy of survival? Hitting the coffee machine and pretending I'm making coffees and drinking coffees. Not really on, or going to the toilet or pretending I'm on my phone. And just lean into what's really going on. My thinking is running havoc, playing havoc with me. And now I just lean into it. I just say, is that really what's going on? Or is that just my thinking? And I used to have this thing where I'll be in a room like that, and 3 people will be talking, and I'll write, if they look over and laugh, then they're definitely talking about me. Then one of them would look over in my direction and laugh, and I'll be like, oh my God, they're definitely talking it right. And everything I'm seeing is just feeding into my thinking. My thinking is literally creating my reality. But when I realize, hold on, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just standing there. I'm just being me. The fact that I'm standing there not talking to anybody, and they're talking, there's 2 people over there talking, and there's 3 people over there, everyone's talking, but I'm not talking, everybody's looking at me and saying, oh my, is that really going on? And you know what? If it is, let it go on, because I'm just standing there in my own thinking, just enjoying my own company. So I can't control other people's thinking, but I can be aware of mine. And if I'm aware of mine, I'm not going to waste it making coffees that I'm not going to drink, or spending half the day in the toilet, not using the toilet, or looking at my phone just to avoid contact. No, make connections. understand there's nothing wrong with me. Understand the words that come out my mouth. People don't, oh, no, it's Derrick again. Who made that up? I made that up. And truly feel it and know it. And when I leaned into that, it was like, wow. All of those situations I've been in where I doubted myself, doubted who I was, and bought into the environment around me. And experienced a horrid experience. When I can just sit there in my own thoughts and know that I'm okay. And like I said before, not know that I'm okay now, I've always been okay. Always been okay. And that's something where before I would think, okay is a thing that goes up and down. But at our core, we're always okay. The only thing that separates us from it is when we think we're not. And it is pretty as simple as that. And like I said, this understanding is not just, it's changed me, or it's opened me up to potential of who I can be, but it's opened up some beautiful relationships along the way. Like connections with people I never thought I would have a connection with. And seeing through things that I never thought I'll be able to see through. And it's a journey. I'll never fully know it. I'll never fully understand it all. But if I just get little glimpses and it makes my life a little bit better or a little bit easier in understanding the nature of where my feelings come from and how I've locked so many things into what I believe to be my reality. There's nothing off the table.
Should we see if anyone have any questions, Derrick?
Yeah, lovely.
If anyone wants to say something. I see a lot of smiles, I can tell you. And it's for me, it has been so rich, Derrick. It's not the end now, but I'm just telling you, it's so rich. And it's like you're putting words on so many different things. And I can relate so much, even if I haven't been in physical prison, I have been in my mental prison. And I can so relate to what you're talking about. What I also saw when you were talking about this connection, when you stand in a room and feel alone or afraid or anything, it's like you're just thinking that you're not connected, right? Because we're always connected. It's just I'm thinking I'm not in the moment. Yeah. So I was also thinking about that I heard before, that there is no fear. There's only like restricted love. It's like you're holding back love. So, and I was like amazed when I heard that. I'm bringing that with me. And I thought of that today when you said that. It's like I'm standing in a corner afraid. And it's like, I can't let love out, not for myself, not for anyone. And then it's like, when I see it, it's like, oh, this doesn't feel really good. And then it's like, so it starts with some love inside, right? Because that's the only way I can feel it. And then it's like, whoo, and the whole room was different. And I'm so happy that you just said that. Even if I'm just standing here afraid, then that's okay too. That's okay too. And that is maybe what it is to be okay. I mean, before I thought that okay was something else. Okay was maybe perfect. What even, I don't know what perfect is even, but okay is maybe just okay. And okay is just what it is. It's just love in the moment. And that can show up in so many different ways. It can show up with just being okay with where you are, just being okay with being afraid. Yeah. Thank you so much, Derrick. And I'm leaving the word to anyone else to just say something or ask something. Wow. And just one more thing. I I so love that you talked about that you could see your mother in a different light, and I saw my upbringing also in a different light, and I'm so happy that it was like an insight in the moment, right? The insight in the moment, and then later when I just looked back or talked to my husband about my upbringing, I said something different, and I was like, "What did I say?" And I was like, "What? Yes, that's so true." So I knew all the time. I knew all the time the truth. But it was like when the truth also came in front of me. So my world changed. And it was in an instant, right? It's so lovely, this understanding. It's in an instant. Yeah.
And I have to speak to that. Unless anyone's got anything, I have to speak to that, because that's what I've realized. And I was careful with my words earlier, because when I said when I grew up, it didn't seem like there was any love there. So my mum had been brought up, she was struggling, single parent, Caribbean, brought up in the Caribbean, strict, struggling. She was doing the best she could in the moment for me. And her version of love was showing up for me what didn't look like what my friends were getting and what everyone else was getting. And they had shiny this and shiny that. And I'm being sent to school in shoes that are too small and trousers that my mum don't love me. She's sending me to school like this. And I didn't realize the love in abundance, but it was just enough. Couldn't recognize. But I tell you this much, Hannah, right now I recognize it and I feel every inch of it like it was just being delivered to me just now. Because I got situations where I can think in my head when my mom's disciplining me and I can see her face and it's like, no, this wicked woman is disciplining me. When I think of that now, all I can see is love, pure love, and somebody doing the best with. And my mom used to send me to bed at 7:30. I'm 15. My mom's sending to bed at 7/8:30 at night so that I can get to school on time. And the next day when the school kids are talking about a program that comes on TV at 9, 10 o'clock, I'm pretending like I watched the show as well because I can't tell them I was in bed at 8:30 last night. And I'm standing there thinking, my mum has put me through this. My mum has done this to me. I didn't for a minute, for a second think. My mum was trying to get me to bed early so I can wake up fresh and get a good day's education at school. It hasn't worked like that for me. It's worked like she's evil, she's wicked, that's what she's doing that for. Most of the things what I break down, my mum done out of that space of love. But it didn't look like that for me. But the most beautiful thing, this is what I know that someone said this to me and it just so resonates with me, like that is held in trust. So when my mum was letting that love out and showing me that love, only now I can truly appreciate it. But like I said, I can feel it like she's giving it to me. And I got so much love. And when I cared for my mum for the last 2 months, I was basically a carer. I live in South London, North London, she lives in South London, which is like a good few miles away. I used to drive over there every morning, make sure she had her pills. And we had a brilliant relationship before she passed. But I still saw, when I got this understanding, I still saw that I hadn't even fully seen through the relationship with my mum. But now I can fully see through it. I speak of her as even more beautiful. There's no regrets or mistakes. They're just even more beautiful. And I wouldn't even say that I'm sorry that she's there to see me change and see me, but I know that she's with me. If I get any kind of understanding of this understanding, I know that she's with me right now. And she's a part of me, was what I'm doing. And she'd always be a part of me. And yeah, just that love thing. That's being starved of it when I was young, or not thinking it was in my life when I was young, enabled me to do more. Something you said, Hannah, where when I was older, love was an intellectual thing. So I had to hold on to it in the corner and I'll be like, right, you've passed the test. You can get a little bit of it, but you have to be good with it though, right? right, I'll give it to you, but you're only borrowing it. And I think that if you hurt it, if you twist it, you hurt it. If you do it, you might break it. And I was mean and stingy with it because I thought there weren't a lot of it about. So I had to be careful with what I'd done with it. I didn't realize that I actually am it. And I can give it away. It's in abundance full. And I can't lose any of it. And there's nobody that can break it. There's nobody that can damage it. There's nobody that can steal it. It is that powerful for me. And now I can love absolutely anything, absolutely anybody. And it doesn't mean that thing like, oh, that intellectual thing that I've got to give you and make sure you take care of it. No, I'll give it to you, do what you want with it. It can't be damaged. It cannot be damaged. And when I see how I use it and what I used to think it was, I was always chasing some misguided version of it, some intellectual version of it, where probably success equaled whatever it equaled through that same lens, not knowing that I could be here without a penny in my pocket and just feel good at the work I'm doing. That is success. That is success, no intellectual version. Remember one time we was passing Tesco's, and the mother of my children, she saw a homeless woman out there. And she started talking to her, and she goes, all right, we was going to Tesco's anyway. And she goes, all right, we're going to get some bread, we're going to get a drink. And I was like, what are you doing that for? And she said, no, get want some things. I was like, all right then. So we got there. But when I gave her the bag, the feeling that came over me was just the most right thing I've ever done in my life. It just felt so amazing. And I thought, this is where success, this feeling here, and it doesn't really cost, it doesn't really show up as what you think it does. But that feeling comes from within. Comes from within with what we do and where we do it from. And that made me know, like, wow. That connection again, when we foster connection in ways we do, it's just feeling.
You have a question? Can you unmute yourself?
Hi, yeah. I don't know if it's more, I think, like a comment. So it's just, I don't know. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this. I just want to say thank you very much, Derrick, because what really shines through is every time when I hear you share, and you're so, the authenticity, and it's like everything you share, it's almost like, I don't know, when it talks about being one, you actually, even though it might not be all be the same experiences, but you can really, really feel it and resonate it. And I don't know, I can't even explain it, but it's just a very beautiful feeling. And I just, for me personally, what it has done for me, this understanding, and when I came across the 3 principles, it's like, I was never in a physical prison as well, like you said, Hannah, but it's all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I was free, and I can almost like be a child, if it makes sense, and just enjoy life without the constant what was going on. And the most beautiful thing for me was, even when it was shared with me, that I am okay, that on the inside everything is okay, and I'm not broken. I don't have to have therapy for the rest of my life. I don't have to take medication for the rest of my life. I am okay. Whatever has happened in the past has not broken me. No one can ever do that to me. And it's just, I understand it's not my control. I can't control my thoughts, but to a certain extent, it gave me back that security in a sense as well. It does not actually matter what anyone has done to me, because they can never break me. And that was also very, very reassuring and hopeful and very freeing. So yeah, I'm just very grateful that I was able to listen to this session, because it just, a lot of things that you shared, Derrick, about it was harder to forgive yourself than maybe forgiving others. I can really, really resonate with that. or sometimes sharing the things that you might have been embarrassed about or thought was a weakness. And when you share them now, how much they actually touch people, because that's something that I can really resonate with. It's almost like the things that you really want to hide and you think, whoa, if they knew, it's actually now what really, really sometimes has such a big impact. And it's not us, we understand that, but it's just so beautiful that how they say something. I mean, I'm a Christian at the same time, but something like God turns around the things for good for those who love God. There's a scripture like that. And I can really see that also in the principles. Everything that we might even thought was bad, it's somehow turned around for good. So yeah, I don't know.
No, thank you for that share, Siobhan. And I think it goes back as well to that same thing that the mask that I used to wear before I went to prison, and then when I was in prison, and then when I came out of prison, there's no difference. There's not like one of the big insights for me, like the categorization that I was different because of the life I lived and the feelings I had and I had. It's all the same. It's all the same. And when I came out, I realized that that difference that I put between me and what I would call regular people was something that I proper made up in my head. And as this journey is carrying on, that population is just getting more and more to me. People I can see and relate with, hear and connect with. And the more I'm doing it, the more they're not looking like me, the more they're not sounding like me, and the more we just feeling in that one space and that connection. And there's no exceptions, no exceptions to that. And that's been one of the most amazing, beautiful things that have ever happened to me. And it's still unfolding. And just hearing people share and hearing connections and yeah, hearing that this is all feeding into what I was talking about earlier, that unlimited potential. And it's just a beautiful feeling. Now, thank you guys for inviting me just to share today. As well, what I sort of, and I knew this as well when I was going to give the talk. I haven't really shared from back then, and look at me saying it like it was like a long time ago. Like, but when I first started talking, that's all I had was my story and what happened and my insight. But then I've been doing other things, and I've had to say to myself, "Oh my God, am I just a story? If I don't tell my story, is that it? I'm finished." So I've been showing up, and I don't really have to tell my story. I can just tell from the space of what I've seen and what I've felt and what I've knowing, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to my story. Just seeing how it shows up for me as I was telling it to you now, as I haven't told it for a while. It just comes across even more beautiful to me. And it's like new to me the way I've just shared that and thinking it. And just reminds me again of the journey that I'm being on. It's always in increments. Only now I can look back and I can see that the pattern that but in the moment, I'm just just doing it in the moment and can't really see the picture that I'm painting. But I know I'm genuinely just doing what I'm doing in the moment. That every now and again stop and look back. And when I look back, I can just see beauty that I've created, or beauty that me and somebody else have created, or beauty I've just showed up. And I didn't know I was even possible, I was even capable of that. But I tell you what, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, 1 minute left.
Yeah, amazing, Derrick. Wow, thank you so much. And you have a lot of thank you in the chat too, so please read them before. Yeah, and if anyone wants to contact you, how can they find you?
I'm on Facebook as Derrick Mason, but also recovery. So I've got my Beyond Recovery. You can go to the website Beyond Recovery, my email co.uk, or you can just find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. Yeah,
that's great. That's great.
Thank you for inviting me to talk to you guys. It was such amazing just being in that space.
Yeah, so thank you for your wisdom and the feeling. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
And thank you to
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank
Derrick.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your messages.
Bye. All the love.
Thank you. Love you guys.